Hello, 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 and welcome to the Positive Principle. Hey, Polly.
Hi, Max. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you. We noticed in our pre-live studio that we're out of sync with our. It's just out of sync, and we're on different sides today.
I noticed that.
Well, we
And
can we can change it, but maybe we
um,
should switch up.
everything is so odd. It snowed in Phoenix yesterday.
Really,
hmm
really. It's
Yep.
supposed to snow. It's supposed to start snowing here right now. Wow, how much snow?
Well, just a little bit, but still, it was like this crazy, it was like tropical storm with snow. Like it was, so crazy windy and everything is very cool. But then looking up on that, like this little mountains behind my house didn't have snow, but I had some. I mean, it didn't look like snow-peaked mountains, but across the way there was snow-peaked mountains, and it was so cool. It was beautiful.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Hello, Lisa from LA. Good to see you. Happy to have you here. Wow, that's incredible. So, what, wait, so there's snow on the peaks, but it didn't stick down.
Well, there's actually, I went out by the orange trees today, and there was still a tiny bit of snow on the ground by my orange trees today.
Okay.
But it was
Awesome.
more, it's not like snow like you would get in Alaska, but it
Mhm.
snowed.
Oh, nice. Very good. We're supposed to have snow today, and I've been looking forward to it. When here in New York, you're like, you never know. You never know. It's like they say it's going to snow, and sometimes it snows a lot, and a lot of times it doesn't snow at all.
Yeah.
So we shall see. I love the snow. I love the
Yeah,
snow.
it's cool. It's cool when you don't have to like live in it day in, day out, right?
Yeah, when it stays a long time, that's kind of a pain. But
Well, yeah, then if it disrupts your life, it's not so cool. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a nice little adventure.
I love it. Very good. If you are new to us, this is the Positive Principle Show. My name is Max Ryan. This is my wonderful, incredible colleague, oh,
Polywirum.
Polly Wyram. And let's tell them what is this show about, Polly? What do we do?
And that's an interesting question because you and I frequently do talk about, well, what do we want the show to be? Like, what do we want our main message to be? And when we first started working together, our shows were basically, we just did like intuitive stuff, right? We just did readings.
Yep.
Almost, I mean, we would do a little bit of other stuff, but the basic thing, it was readings and law of attraction when we first started. That was the stuff we did. And it's shifted. I think both of us now want to do, I mean, we still do that, but I think both of us also want to help people live a life with more meaning, maybe live a life with a more fulfilled life.
For sure, for sure. And so, good morning to everybody that's coming in. Hello, Christine, Kim, and Lisa. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, this show is, I mean, it's called the Positive Principle for a reason, is that both Polly and I believe and know that there are ways of navigating through our lives that help us to have that peace and have that flow and have that joy. And I think that that's what my work is all about, and yours is too. So what we do is we talk a little bit about our lives, a little about what's going on, and then we choose some kind of topic. Last week was all about intuitive living. We're going to do something a little different today, but I wanted to show you something. Want to see it, Polly? And
Yeah.
everybody. Yesterday, I went to on my street, 45th Street. If you walk all the way east, not all the way, just past Fifth Avenue, there's a store called Book Off, and they have dollar books, cheap books, but they have they even have records. So, and sometimes when I'm just traveling around, I go over there, and they have a lot of books for $1, and then for cheaper. And I wanted to show everybody. Look at all those.
Oh my gosh.
Look at all those books. Look at all those books. I got those, and then I got 2 albums because I love my turntable, which you can't really see back there. 2 albums, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books for $26.
Wow.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I wanted to tell you that. So that's kind of a fun thing. You know, I love getting good books, and I'm rereading some really great books right now. So love good books. A couple of those books I already had, but I needed another copy. So that's good.
So Max, you look like you're like melting into the Matrix field.
Yeah, there's a pixelation issue.
Yeah, is it? But I don't think it's happening to me.
It's not happening to you. You never know.
You never know. It might be. It might be somewhere in my vibrational energy. I'm melting into the vortex field.
I am. Matrix, one of the best movies of all time. Love that movie. Love that movie. Do you like that movie?
I didn't see it.
Oh.
But I'm just saying Matrix field because I'm imagining what it would be like. But no, I did not see it.
Oh, okay. It's great. Great movie. Great movie. Lisa says we could all use more positivity in our lives these days. Amen. Amen, yeah. Lisa. You are Absolutely. So right. I love that show you did before when you coached people. Yes, it was called The Positive Principle, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. We've been doing things for a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time. And you can look back at our older episodes that are on my YouTube channel, and you can see all the ways we have looked over the years.
You can look back at our other hairstyles.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure. For sure.
So fun.
I love it. So that's my, I love reading, and I'm dedicating myself more to reading again, which I love. And is there any thing you want to catch up on before we get to our topic for the day?
No, I think we're good to go. I think it's interesting because you've definitely, I know you've always had it, like being a educator and exploring the intellectual stuff in the world is always a piece of, that's part of who you are. But it definitely seems like you're diving back into that. Super.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. So that's good. So today we thought, you know what? There's something that we do all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't do it as much as I used to do it, but I love doing it. I'm very trained. I went to a whole mystery school about it and everything. It's a whole other story. But we want to talk to you a little bit about how the topic is about tarot cards and oracle cards and how we use them. And I think it's a fascinating subject. It's kind of a lifelong study. That's what I was always taught when I was very young. And I wanted to share how we use tarot cards, why we would use tarot cards, and ask anyone if they have any questions about tarot cards, and maybe do a little reading for somebody here.
Absolutely. Okay, let's expand that to oracle or tarot.
It is oracle and tarot. That's exactly right. You're right. So oracle and tarot, and I pulled out a few so we could share some ideas. Now I'll just start because I've already started, but I just tell you all a story about my journey with tarot. When I was really young, I was very, very intuitive, and which kind of meant I had no friends. I didn't really have any friends. And I was coming home one day. There was this woman that lived on my street. And I was probably around 10, 11, no, about 11-ish, probably 11 or 12. And I was walking home one day, and I was about to, and this is in the 70s when, kids could walk everywhere without people freaking out. And so came home, latchkey kid, and this woman who I'd seen a few times, she came up to me and she said, hi, I had recognized her. And she goes, I have something for you. And I was like, what? She goes, come here. And I went to her house, went to her kitchen, and she had these on the, she took them out and she took them on the table. She goes, do you know what these are? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, these are called tarot cards, and I'm going to teach you how to use them. And I was like, what? And she goes, you have the gift. And I was like, I had no idea what that was. She could see something in me. And we sat on her kitchen table and she pulled out cards and she said, this is the what is this one? Temperance. And it means this and this and this and this and this. And she taught me every single one of the cards. I went after school to her house for like a few weeks and every single one of the cards. And she had me write on them. It's going to be hard to see with my pixelation. She had me write little words on the cards. It's very hard with the pixelation. Sorry, everybody. And these are the same cards. I'm 56 now, and these are the same cards I've used the whole time. And I have other decks, but and from then on, then she told me she had talked about a mystery school called Boda, and which was in Los Angeles where I grew up, where she learned. And she said, someday you'll take classes there or you'll learn from them. And I was like, okay. So when I was about 18 or 19, I signed up there. And it's very extensive and very in-depth about learning about what the tarot is all about. So that's my journey with the tarot. So since then, I've studied it, I've used them, I love them, and I think they're very misunderstood. So that's my story about tarot. That's my story about tarot.
That's a very sweet story, and I love that you still have them, and I love that you wrote on them. And it also makes me think about, if somebody pulled, like, can you imagine if you or I taught some neighborhood kid the tarot now? Like, if we pulled them into our kitchen and said, I mean, chances are it wouldn't roll very well.
Yeah, chances are.
That's a very cool story. And I think that that's one of the big differences, like, between the way you and I work is I don't do tarot so tarot, I mean, the way you do it is very, very, very intuitive, but there's also a memorization to it, right? And like, the meaning of the cards, and so you can still do very deep readings, but I see how other people use the tarot and the readings aren't as deep. So it's almost like it opens up the door for you the way you do readings, and it allows you to go to a deeper place. I don't use tarot. Well, I mean, I have tarot cards, but I don't use them in the traditional way. So I use like mostly Oracle, but actually a lot of my cards are like the Angel Tarot or whatever. So they're they're not the traditional tarot, just because I read so differently. But I think it's very interesting. There's somebody that I saw a few weeks ago, and she, it was a event I was taking place, and she's like a phenomenal teacher of the tarot. Like, she's very good. But I think it was interesting because her reading, I saw her give a reading to somebody, and it was exactly that. It didn't allow, like, there wasn't the depth to it, right? And so I think that that's what happens sometimes when you memorize. It's the same with astrology, right? You can memorize what the planets mean, but you got to go deeper.
Well, the memorization, kind of like what you're saying in a way, it's like each of these cards, the cards these cards are ascribed a meaning, basically. Yeah. But it's how that's where the intuition comes in. And that's where, I always teach the tarot and doing this work as it's a story. You're telling a story, and there's all these elements of a story happening. Mm-hmm. And if you're really intuitive, you can string the story together, and not just from a surface point of view. It's very intuitive. Yeah,
and the way I read, or the way I use cards, is when we do those events, when you do events and you're doing like a very fast reading for a bunch of people, like, you'll pull a card, like, and spend 4 minutes. So, like, the way the cards work for me, like in an hour reading, I might pull 2 or 3 cards. It's mostly not that type of reading. But say I pull a card, and before I even look at it, or it's usually while I'm holding the cards, I'll be picking up a message, and whatever the message is, I tell them, and then I pull the card, and it's usually affirming of it, right? Mm-hmm. So I use the cards differently. But I often think about, when you and I we would do those events, and say there's 30 people in it, and you would do reading for 15, and I do a reading for 15, and you had the, yours was you were smarter because you just pulled the card, and it was like, that's what they got. And I was like doing the thing where, okay, well, what am I seeing here? Whatever. Like I was getting the other way. And it's a heck of a lot more taxing when you're like opening, when you have to keep opening up the door and receiving that way. And you're like, yeah, I'm pulling a card and good as good. And it's so true.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that has a lot to do with, because I've done it for so long, is that it has to do with anyone can do this. Listen, anyone can do this, but it is a practice. It's a practice, and you develop the trust. Yeah. And I just trust this is going to tell me something that is right on. I trust it immediately. So, and then you just you got to run with it. Because if you have to think too much, because I could do a reading without cards. Yeah. For sure. But you're right. It's a lot more taxing and a lot more energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But you know what you just said, the trust, I think that that's so important because like in my classes, that's one of the things is like getting people to trust the messages. And just honestly, just in general in life, like, do we trust the messages we get from the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's in a card reading or not, do we trust? Yeah. That's a great, that's important. So whether we're using tarot or not, like, do we trust the messages we're receiving?
Well, it's like, it does really, really, really come down to, every issue in life affects every other issue, right? So, the more you can, that's why I have trust tattooed to me, because I think it's one of the most important things that we have to come back to over and over, because it's very easy for us to distrust and to doubt and go into fear, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that it's true. It's like, you got to be able to have that just enough trust so that you can say, you know what, this is important. I'm going to trust this one thing, and I'm not going to doubt it. Because the doubting part is really what makes doing this really hard.
Yeah. Or, it absolutely, like, you're not using your intuition if you have to doubt everything or you can't trust, right? Because it is an exercise of trust.
Now, right? This is the question I want to ask to you. What is the difference between, someone just going to the store and picking up a card deck and just starting to read cards for people, and what's the difference between that and then what you and I do? What would you say?
Well, it's practice, right? I think in terms of like, I'm not necessarily a fan of the exercise of pulling a card say you go to the store, buy a pretty deck, of pulling a card every day and saying, oh, what's my day going to be like? Because I feel like that kind of, then you say you get, the devil, which isn't bad, but we'll say you pulled the devil card and you're like, oh my God, departure or whatever, this is, you start anticipating this occurring. Well, if you're anticipating it, guess what? So how I actually, like, if somebody, goes in and buys a beautiful deck of cards, how I like to do it is if you get a notebook, pull the card, and have no expectation, live the day, and at the end of the day, write what happened. And you start getting a vocabulary of what that card means, right? So instead of using that card as a dictator of what your day is going to be like, pull the card and be like, I'm not sure what this means. Let me see. Live your life and fill. And so if you start doing that every day, you will develop a meaning of what those cards mean to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You and I feel the same, because I think that's kind of, if you're not aware of what's going on, I had a student that was doing that for a while, and every day she would pull a card, and she was pulling it from the tarot. And first of all, like the tarot is different than Oracle, and just so you all know, it's very complicated. Actually, it's very complicated, and it can tell you a lot of things. But if don't know what's going on, you'll pick something like the devil, and you will start to create those things in your life. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. It's really important. So what I told her to do is to, because she's really liked it. But I said, get a positive oracle card deck that feels good. You know what I mean? It's like I have this Mary, Queen of Angels one right here, which I really love. There's a lot of oracle decks that are really positive, that make you feel empowered, that make you feel good. At least until you know what you're doing, do that first, because that's going to help you to feel more connected and all of that stuff. And it's very difficult, not very difficult. Reading for yourself, listen, I very rarely, I'm going to say never, very rarely go, oh, the cards need to tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't do that. I don't ever really do that. I usually just sit down and shut up and go, where do I go? What's going on here? I need to get focused here. But I think that the difference is I don't know if you would say this. I feel like to do this right, you have to have reverence for the cards.
Yeah, well, more than reverence for the cards, right? It's reverence for God, reverence for all that is, reverence for the universe, right? And so this is a tool. I mean, we could be doing this with rocks.
Yep. Well, what are runes?
Right, exactly. So it's reverence for, I'm just going to say for the beautiful things in life, right? Because honestly, we assign the meaning to things.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So I love Oracle card. I love Oracle cards because they're beautiful. Like the ones I buy are beautiful. I love them, right?
Yeah.
Because they're beautiful.
And you're right. You bring up something too. If you're all new, and please put into the chat if you're watching and you have experience with cards and you want to know more. Any questions, we'll answer any questions for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is what's called the divination tool. And divination tools, you don't need to have a tool. We don't need the cards. We don't need crystals. You don't need the runes. You can just go straight to source, straight to grace, straight to love and God. That's it. But on some level, it makes it kind of fun.
It does. I think one of the things, because I typically will pull one or two cards in a reading, and that's like one of the cool things is you can pull something beautiful, and it really ends, like it gives that person, depending on the deck you use, it gives something like, like this one is just so pretty. And it's titled The Ancient Ones, right? And so, connecting to the energy of the ancient ones, connecting to and honoring those that have walked this path prior to us, those that still guide us from the other side. There's something beautiful about that.
That is really beautiful.
Right.
And it is, it's like, I think that there is some ritual kind of thing of picking the ones that vibe with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Like I have these ones right here. I don't use them very much, but they are tarot cards. I mean, what happens, everyone, so that just so you know, is that there are like the much more traditional tarot cards, and then especially in the recently in the last probably 15 years, they start to do themed tarot cards. Mm-hmm. So like this is the fairy tarot deck, and even though it's by somebody I don't really follow anymore, it still has really cool pictures in it and everything, and it's much less complicated than a regular tarot deck, because what will happen is, I know I'm pixelated, is that they'll write kind of, they'll, how I have my real writing on it. Oh, it's upside down. It'll have a little description there for you, and that kind of does help. It kind of does help.
Yeah.
The only issue with this, just so you all know, is that this is what I found with these themed ones. What they're doing too is that you're getting somebody's interpretation of what the card is. And that isn't always great because it might not be the truth. But I look at them because, like I said, I have studied this for so long, the archetypes and all of that stuff, is that, there is a meaning to these cards. It can't just be like, well, I think it means this. Well, no, actually, there is a meaning to those cards. And so I've seen some things where I'm like, most of them are pretty close, but there's some you're like, there is no way that the balance card means to stop your job. And they will say that. And you're like, no, that's not true. So, do your research too. It's really fun. I mean, I think it's really fun.
It is fun. But I think that goes back to learn what they mean to you. So start a notebook, right? Learn what they mean to you, because I could pull a card, and honestly, I pull a card, say I'm doing 5 readings and pull a card for 5 different people. It's going to mean something different to each of them because their lives are different, right? But pull a card and start learning the vocabulary of what those cards are for you.
Right. For sure. So, and the other way to do cards too, if you're just brand new, especially with the tarot, because a lot of times with the oracle cards, it'll say something like yours says, it is what it is. That is what it is. With the tarot cards, a lot of times the picture gives you a lot of information. So you read the picture. What's going on in the picture? Oh, this is a guy with a hat, and there's flowers, and there's a fish. And you have to start to read the picture itself. And reading the picture itself, a lot of times, starts to get you going. You're like, oh, this is
right. And that's exactly how I teach people. You have to read the picture. And like, Max, do you remember these lovely old cards of mine that you can't even get anymore?
Yeah, pull them over there towards the camera.
Whoops, can you see?
Yes, I love those. No, the other way.
Oh, I'm delayed. So when I move anyhow. But Supreme ate one of them. But anyhow, I love these cards because they're all, look at it. They're like, they're crazy.
I love them. Yep. Move it over.
Oh, it was that for a minute, wasn't it?
I didn't see it. We're all stuck in pixel.
Anyhow, I love these cards. And I love them when they don't have writing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really great. You really have to, Christine says, like going by the visual cues better. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Reading the pics, that's exactly right. I think that, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I just think that there is a ton of ways to do it. There's no right or wrong, but there is a traditional kind of way, but you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to do it that way. So, let's see. Should we, does anybody have any comments or questions? We'll wait. So, Polly, should we pull a card and I'll pull a card?
Yes, I think that was.
And then I had an idea.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. It depends on, and if someone's in the audience that wants to either come on or have a card pulled in that, we could demonstrate how we're getting messages from the cards by doing a card for each other.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that's fun.
That's fun. Okay, so you'll pull a card for me and I'll pull a card for you.
Okay, perfect.
And one of us should do Oracle and one of us should do Tarot.
Okay, you do Tarot. I'll do Oracle. That's a no-brainer.
Okay, so let's take them through what our process is about how we're doing it and what's going on with us while we do it.
Okay, so when I do it, if I'm going to pull a card for somebody, I pick up the deck, and I've got like Max a gazillion different. I just noticed I have a deck over there I haven't even opened up yet, and it's called Lightworker Oracle. So whatever. I mean, we've got tons of decks. So I'll just pick up whatever cards I'm using, and I hold it in my hands. When I work, I do a lot with my eyes closed. Or if my eyes are open, they're looking not at the person, they're looking over there, but I do a ton with my eyes closed. So I'm holding the deck in my hands, and I kind of, I don't shuffle like the traditional way of shuffling. And when I'm doing this is when I start receiving a message. And so I typically will receive before I even pull a card. So now I have to be quiet so I can see what message I'm getting from Max before I even look at the cards. So one of the things that they're showing me right now with Max is he has, like, you know, those little circles with the, you know how in cartoons they used to have the little vocabulary, the little circles with the
bubbles.
Yeah. So they've got that. So you have, like, you know, lots of thinking. Like they're showing me you've got the thinking bubbles behind you. You've got the, you know, then you've got the one right above you with the head. But then they're also, so what they're showing me is like you writing, like taking a pen. So you're actually writing, that you're not like using a computer. So it could be on the, you know, on the computer, but they're showing me you're actually writing, but there's some frustration with it. Like you pick it up, ball it up and throw it. So there's some frustration with the writing and with the way things are looking. And you're looking at different angles in the way that you can use this writing. Like for you, you're looking at different angles, and you're also, it's not necessarily like this longer writing. It's a shorter, it's like, you know, your idea is fine. Just like one, you know, well, I'm hearing catchphrases, but how can you use that? And you're looking for new angles on how to use that. And I don't think it's like volumes and volumes like a book. This is just like writing in terms of like, how can you take your thoughts? How can you take your words, your visuals, and turn it into writing is what they're saying. And then, this is so interesting. So this, I love this card. I've been pulling this card so much. So it's it's kind of a funny looking card, but you know, it's almost like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's kind of, they're not very smiley. So it's the Christ flame, but what it is, it's actually a great card. So what it signifies is really like the messenger of truth. And that's what I'm hearing as I do this, is like you are the messenger of truth. But Max, you're also being redirected. So you've been walking on this path and, you know, this is the way I'm doing it. You have just hit almost like a wall, and you are really being redirected in the way you're working with this energy and the way you're looking at the world. You're being redirected, and it won't be long before you come to the point and you're like, this feels good again. I know what I'm doing. But it's almost like you had to go through this feeling of escaping the way you were, like, you know, finding an out of the way you were moving through life. You had to find this escape, this out, and you know, you're going to be back at that, but you're really being redirected right now. That's the biggest thing. And I think it's interesting because I was seeing the writing, and I think that there's a piece of that, but that's not all of it. It's a piece of the way that you were taking in this information and how you're sharing it. And that's the difference. That's what's going on with you, is how you're receiving, and how you're sharing it is what's changing with you. There you go. That is what I get from this card. So I get a lot of it before I get the card.
I get it. I get it. Well, all of that's exactly true. That's exactly true. I mean, it's all exactly true. I mean, we know each other. We're friends. We're right. Best friends. We know each other. So sometimes, hey, listen, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's hard to like pick up for a friend sometimes, but I don't think you and I have never really had that problem, but yeah, everything you said is like right on, right. It's right on. That's exactly where I am. And I'm not going to go into, but just know you're totally right.
Thank you.
Of course you're right. Of course you're right. But I like how, you know, it's seeing how you work, seeing how I work. Hopefully everybody out there is getting something out of, you know, you do it your way, I do it my way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, okay. So I've been, this is what I do. When I read cards, I usually am shuffling the cards in my hand, and I'm usually, a lot of times, so you know, like if I'm going to do a big reading, I tune in before I even talk to the person. Like I'm going to meet with Jane, and I will sit down like 5 minutes before. I'll get the cards and I'll just start like pulling or thinking and feeling. And I'm like, just Jane. And then I start to, and I'll close my eyes, and then like words will come to me or whatever. But I usually, if I'm doing a long reading, I'll pick 3 cards right away. And that'll be the basis for the conversation. I don't even like calling them readings. I call them conversations. And so that's what happened. But in this kind of situation with you, Polly, and like a one-off is that I like to just take to connect with the person.
Mhm.
We take a breath and then we'll see. So look me in the eye. Let's take a breath together. Okay. All right. So that connects us immediately. So immediately I saw building. I saw like building, like boop, 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 like hammers, building, building. Something's building. I see wood being built. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think I might know what it means. I see building things, putting things together, hammering and wood. Do you understand what that means?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I see hammering and wood. Okay, so so there's something going on, and I also thank you. So I also think that this hammering and this wood and this building thing is also a metaphor for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're rebuilding, you're redesigning, and it's not just it is your house for sure. There is a house thing going on here. I know that to be true, but there's a redesigning of what is it? It's like chess. What you're doing right now is like you're going, well, this needs to go over here, and this needs to go over here, and this needs to go over here, and I need to go over here. It's kind of between your family life, your kids, your career. It's like you're not rejigger, but it's like you're using your life as little chess pieces. You're like, that goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Okay. So now let me tell you so when I do that, when I'm getting something like that, I always, before I pull the card, not always, but I'll be like, oh, if we're in tune and they say yes, I go, okay. Like I say, we're hooked. We got it. So I'm on an energy level. So let's pull a card for you. Okay. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so I get the Three of Rods, and the Three of Rods is very much about collaborating, putting things together, and it also has to do with putting some effort in. And that's what I was feeling with your building and there's like collaborating between your business and your family. And it's kind of like you see these three wands here, the wands, there depends on what they are. And this is about, see the two coming together with the one. It's like taking this over here and putting this over here. So now I'll tell you this, I love the cards because a lot of times the cards will not prove, but they will support what I said before.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of those. It's about, and there's a business collaboration. Thank you. There is definitely a business collaboration. It's not me. A business collaboration situation that you're trying to, where does it fit on the chessboard right now? Oh my God, we were just talking about that. We were just talking about you and this might not be it, but you and the person that's working.
Oh, yeah. No, this is something different.
I know, but there's another business collaboration. Yeah. Oh, now I know. Okay, now this is what I have to say. I know some things so then I can put it together. If I didn't know this and I didn't know Polly, I might say, does that make sense? They go, yes, it does. And if it's a full reading, I would then probably be like, okay, now you can tell me a little bit about what's this business collaboration you're trying to figure out. So yeah, so you're in this place of, building things, moving things, putting them over, and it's a metaphor for your life and your business.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a little bit of life, mostly business, for sure.
Yeah. I
mean, I have a family, so obviously
that's happening all the time.
But my business definitely.
For sure. Good. Okay. Great.
But I think we are very similar in the way we receive before we look at the card, right? That's the big thing. It's not just the card. And to be honest, my opinion is, and hopefully I don't sound whatever, this is my opinion, that's what sets people apart. Whether you do astrology, whether you do tarot reading, whether you do whatever, that's what sets you apart. It's part of how you read. It's not entirely how you read, right?
I agree with that. I agree with that because, the question I asked you, and then we'll start to wrap up. The question I asked you before is like, what makes it different between, Joe going and picking up a box of cards and what we do? And I think that you're right. It's like, we don't need, well, this sounds arrogant, but it doesn't matter. We don't need the cards.
Right.
But the cards help. Because when you're doing intuitive work, the cards can help you it does help you to be like, what is that? What is that? And you turn the card over and you're like, that's what it was. Because you can't quite find it sometimes. We could get in a whole discussion about how we do the work we do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get a little lost in it because it gets like, you can't quite, and then the card will help you.
Well, and also some people are easier to read than others, right?
Oh,
there are people that are not very easy to read. They're just pretty shut down. And so having access to a card, and when I say shut down, I'm not meaning in a negative way. They're just like,
I know.
It's just not their comfort zone. And look if you get a reading, there's a little bit of vulnerability, right? You have to trust the person giving you the reading. That's the big thing. And so if somebody's never had a reading before and they're like, what's going to happen? Of course, they're not like,
No doubt.
Right? That totally makes sense.
Yeah. When you said that, and then we're just going to wrap up. When you said that, I thought to myself, I don't think I've ever had someone that was hard to read.
Ooh, I have. I mean, it's not like, okay, maybe it's not that they're hard to read, but the way they receive the messages. And I mean, I was having with this other friend who's a psychic, and it was like the joke because the person was saying like, yeah, you can tell them that they're wearing red shoes and they're like, no, these have more of an orange hue to them. So they're not really red. Mm-hmm. So you can say whatever, and that person's going to be like, I mean, like one in particular, I did a reading for somebody and older gentleman. And I mean, I was even picking up like health stuff. I don't normally, but it was, it was bone density stuff. So it wasn't, so like everything that I was picking up. And when I first do readings, I do a channeled message because I know that that's going to be the most important thing of the reading. And I base it off that. So I did that, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure. And so I shared all the information. And then at the end, he was like, I said, well, do you have any questions? Because I always do that. And so every question he asked was exactly what I had been talking about. But the thing is, I hadn't picked up the language that he would get, right? That he was comfortable receiving. And so, I could present it in 5 different ways. He wasn't ready to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. No, I get that. Yeah. Because, because when you're good at this and we're really good at it, it doesn't matter. It's not, you can read them even if they have an energy that's like, get away from me. You can still read them. How you communicate it to them is the finesse of being able to know people and how to say things a certain way. And that takes practice.
Right. And it's not, I will just say there are some people that I'm like, even before the reading, I'm like, I can feel how they think. I can feel all that. I'm like, oh, this is going to be like my head hurts already.
Yeah. It's your pick up the resistance. You pick up resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. That was such an interesting thing. I'm so glad that we did that.
Yeah, it's very interesting for sure.
It is.
It's this is the stuff I love. Love. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun and interesting. So everybody, if you would like to book a reading, I'll just say this right here. It's easy. Book a reading with me. You can go to my website, attractpositiveresults.com. I love doing readings. It's fun. And we go in depth, 60 to 90 minutes, and we go in depth. I always call them, it's not just a reading. It's an experience. It's a session. It's a whole thing. So And a lot of people that read say, do you want a 1-card reading? You want a 10-minute reading? You want a 20? I don't do that. I just don't do that, because I found that there is so much power in what we're doing that I don't want to just be like, here's 10 minutes and I'm going to say bye. Right. No, I want to go in depth with you to help you and also to guide you. So if you'd like to do that, you can go to my website, attractpositiveresults.com, and I would love to do that. I would love to do that for you. How would someone get a reading with you, Polly?
That's a great question. And so my website is pollywyram.com, and I just found out that it was down yesterday. Hopefully it'll be up later on today because of a SSL certificate. But those frustrating things happen. But anyhow, contact me at pollywyram.com or on Instagram, or just leave a message through here. But also, Max and I have done readings together. Right?
That's really fun.
Yeah, we haven't done that for a while, but those are fun. Because
those are really fun.
Sometimes we pick up a little bit different things, or we share it a little. Again, that's the piece, because whoever you are, the way I've lived my life, the way Max has lived his life, it gives us a different perspective.
Yeah, different style too. Mm-hmm, for sure. All right. So while you're there, Polly, so pollywyram.com is how they find you. Yep. And then we're gonna be back here next week. We'll have another topic that we're gonna talk about. Please let us know if there's anything that you want to talk about. Go to our Instagram page, The Positive Principal Show. And you can also, I do want to do a week from today, I'm starting my Manifest a Miracle Mindset 4-week challenge, where we're going to have 4 sessions. It's totally free. And it's going to be really great about opening your mind to miracles, about letting belief systems go, all that stuff. Because right now, it's true, Polly will agree with me, human species is going through a radical shift. And right now, as many of us that can move away the clouds of fear and doubt and insanity that we can, then the better. Because I think that we are moving into a paradigm shift right now. You feel it. I feel it. The people that don't even feel it. Yeah. So, and I wanted to do this as a challenge for everybody. You can go to my website, attractpositiveresults.com, to sign up for that. We have about 30 people in it right now. It's really open. So we'd love to. We meet every Tuesday night for 30 to 60 minutes. You'll have homework, and there's a lot of really good people in it right already. People that I know that I've worked with that are great. So go to attractpositiveresults.com to sign up for that. Anything you want to?
Yeah, I want to say that we have a special guest. I'll put this on your calendar on March 2nd.
That's right. We do.
So I'm very excited about this. Very well-respected, well-known special guest on March 2nd that I'm sure will have some really interesting insights on how we receive messages and really how to move through the world.
I love it. That's awesome.
Super excited about that. So excited about that.
All right, everybody. I keep looking that way to see the snow, because it's starting to snow here, so it's really nice. So.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week. And Polly, I'm going to manifest some more snow for you in Arizona.
Yeah, it was hailing, I think, a few minutes ago. It was doing something out there. So.
I love it. Okay, everybody. We'll be back next week, and I'll be back here tomorrow. Same time. So.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
Oh, there's Amanda. Bye-bye.
Oh, Amanda. Bye.